there's even more news as of right now when it comes to Zebec, and yet again, it is about the Zebec cards. Now, people may be thinking, oh man, Zebec cards. In my previous video, I was talking about Zebec cards, and quite essentially, it's new partnership, I would say, with Phoenix, which is a meme coin on the XRP ledger. However, now I want to talk about something different. I want to talk about another one that they announced, which is Link AI. Now, when it comes to Link AI, I've never heard about it before, but I heard about it recently, so I'm going to talk about it because, of course, I heard this through Zebec cards. But even besides that, of course, Zebec, it's focused on AI-based PayFi. So anything really, in my opinion, that kind of somewhat bolsters its reputation for AI, maybe even through partnerships or whatever the case may be, this is what I like because people sometimes like to tell me, oh, is Zebec this watered down version of Ripple or Stellar? Now, to me, I don't feel like that is entirely the case. Now, it may share some aspects, like for instance, it's focused on, global trade and finance, focused on the payments market, and of course, it's kind of in that same space, I would say. However, Zebec, I think, is a little bit different, has an aspect of Solana, not to mention, I just think that it has more things that it's focused on, like AI-based PayFi, and like, we take a look at payrolls, RWAs. It just feels a little bit more, I would say, diverse to me in terms of the focus of the project. But even besides that point, if we take a look at the AI market, that right there is predicted to reach nearly $2 trillion by 2030, according to Grandview Research. So I don't think that is such a bad thing to be focused on, at least when it comes to, projects that are hypothetically focused on that. Now, granted, if they're good, of course. And when I take a look at, ZBCN and the idea of 10 cents, I just don't understand why, something like that would seem too outlandish to me at least, even though nothing I say is financial advice, because we have to consider Zebec is continuing to update. The fundamentals, or at least the perceived fundamentals of it, seem not that bad to me. I think hypothetically for me, it seems good. Not to mention, ZBCN, good exchange listings, and the community is very passionate. This is the way you take a look at it. Maybe it doesn't have, the biggest community out there when compared to some of its competitors, but then at the same time, I do like how there's the passion and kind of the drive there when it comes to ZBCN. Now, the way you take a look at it is this. If we view Charles Hoskinson, who not only is the co-founder of Ethereum, but the founder of Cardano, back in November of last year, he said that 1 to 2 years from then, he could very well see Bitcoin reaching anywhere between $250,000 all the way up to $500,000. Now, again, that's 1 to 2 years from then. Imagine if maybe that hypothetical scenario, let's say, were to play out, and let's say Bitcoin reaches the worst case scenario for that price target, 250,000, and let's say best case scenario timeline, November. If that were to happen, is ZBCN at the price of, 10 cents, right? With a market cap, considering current circulating supply of around $9 billion, would that be too outlandish? I don't know about that, let alone 500 grand for Bitcoin, which who knows if that will ever happen during this cycle, so to speak. But the way you take a look at it is that, even just 250 grand, keep in mind, ZBCN had that rally not too long ago. And what was the bullish factors for Zebec? What was the bullish factors for, the altcoin space, generally speaking, And it was still able to do that. So if the markets were way better, of course, I cannot tell the future, but that would not surprise me. Again, hypothetically, maybe 10 cents in a make-believe scenario. Now, the way I take a look at it as well as this, some people sometimes like to ask me, oh, why don't you pull up a price chart and do this or whatever, right? That's not my style. Let me explain why I don't want to do that. It's because when I, let's say, do that, let's say I pull up a price chart, draw some random triangle, do you think the market's going to care about what I draw on that price chart? Like, for instance, I drew a falling wedge pattern. It's not going to care. It's not going to, suddenly do as I want to in the price chart. And oftentimes, I see some people out there, they make a video, they pull up a price chart, and then what happens? They draw a triangle and they're saying, oh, this is going to do this at this time. And then suddenly it doesn't. And they're like, oh, yeah, let's adjust it a little bit. Well, then at that point, it's just looking cool, right? It's like for me, pulling up a price chart saying that, oh yeah, things are gonna hypothetically do this at this time, and then suddenly it's like, oh, it didn't do that, and then I just adjust it, and then adjust it. It's like, what's the point in that? And here's the thing: if I'm only taking a look at the price chart when it comes to ZBCN, how would I ever understand the fundamentals of Zebec? Maybe I could research it, right? But then if I'm just solely focused on the price charts, then all the news, all the updates, all the things that Zebec did, like for instance, acquiring Gate Knox, being focused on compliance through that, acquiring something like Science Card UK, being focused on education through that, how would I even care about that type of stuff? Then I'd just be very focused on the price chart of ZBCN, and I don't think that really tells the whole story when it comes to Zebec. This is just my perspective. So that's just not my style. I'd rather talk about the fundamentals. I'd rather talk about, what the project is doing. I'd rather also take a look at, historically, like for instance, altcoins typically as a worst case scenario, again, historically speaking, usually peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. And again, that is as a worst case scenario. So we base that off the last, Bitcoin halving event that happened in April of last year. So over a year at this point, right? But it's not 18 months, not a year and a half. That would actually mean October of this year. We're not in October yet. Now, who knows if that will ever come true, because that's based off history. Maybe later, who knows? Only time will tell if, let's say, it ever even does happen. But I'm just saying, I'd rather just kind of take a look at stuff like that, because if I'm just, taking a look at, again, the price chart and all this, I don't think it really kind of showcases the story when it comes to Zebec. And again, personally for me, I am not a day trader. I do not use leverage. That's not my style. So taking a look at short-term price chart anyways, it wouldn't really I think benefit me in the grand scheme of things, because I treat this like a marathon. It is not a sprint for me. What I do is literally I research about a project. If I like it, what I do is I dollar cost average, I hold, and I just wait. Literally, that's it. I mean, there's nothing I can do about the project. There's nothing I can do about the market. I either like the project or not, and then I believe in it or not, right? I mean, that's really about it for me. So it's just a marathon. I just consistently, dollar cost average, hold, and I just wait. I mean, there's nothing really too complicated for that when it comes to me, right? So that's about it. I am not worried about what happens every 5 minutes or every 10 minutes. That's not my style. That's not what I do. Some people out there, they may have different styles, but this is the style that I use. Now, some people out there may think, arguably that what I'm doing is maybe boring when it comes to that. But personally, for me, again, I treat it like a marathon. It's not a sprint for me. Even besides that point, I'm very excited when it comes to Zebec, and I'll do like seeing news like that when it comes to Zebec cards. And feel free to subscribe if you enjoyed this video. I would greatly appreciate it. It's only the captain. I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.